I really don't know what drove me, but something was driving me to make money, to be a business. You couldn't find a job, you know, back in those days. So, you know, you was trying to make money on your own. So I started this silver refining business. I realized I couldn't succeed in this business. 4 other companies had tried it, they failed. And I was praying to God about this disappointment that I had. When all at once he spoke to my heart and said, Stanley, it doesn't need to be a disappointment. You don't need to go broke in your business. Turn it over to me, and I'll make it succeed. I said, Lord, if you take this business and make it succeed, I will honor you in every way I possibly can. Well, the first time I went to the attorney, I said, I've come today to make God my senior partner. I'd like to have you make out a legal paper that's effective. We're turning 51% of our business over to the Lord. He looked at me kind of peculiar, and then he said, you want to do what? I said, I want to make God my senior partner. He said, why don't you go think it over for 3 months? Then you come back, we'll have another talk. So I left his office and went to a second attorney who told me exactly the same thing. I said, I'm not going to leave today until you do something about this. He saw I was going to be persistent, so he said, all right, we'll do something. He said, we'll incorporate your little business, we'll issue stock, and then we'll establish a nonprofit religious foundation, and we'll give 51% of the stock to the foundation. So that's what we did. We produce about $4 million a year, and I total up from the beginning, and it comes to about $120 million that the company has given for the ministry of the Lord. Well, when I went around the world in 1952, the most productive thing I saw in the Christian world was the Ever Creature Crusades in Japan. In 1960, this missionary society ran out of money, so they stopped it. But I couldn't forget it. And in 1968, I went to the president. I said, if I could trust God for $50,000 a year, would you start this Ever Creature Crusades up again? And he said, yes. And that was 40 years ago. And now we're in 42 countries. And we have over 1,600 men going door to door right now, presenting the Gospel of John, the plan of salvation, and winning souls to Jesus. Then in 1955, I was in South America, my wife and I, and we were speaking in a church. As I was speaking, something happened. The Spirit of God came upon that meeting in a very precious way. And you know, when a person gives his message, he sits down, he's given his burden. But this time, God began to talk to me. Stanley, what's the greatest value in all the world? As I looked at those souls there, I knew the answer. The Bible says one soul is the greatest value in all the world. And then the Lord spoke to me the third time and said, Stanley, if a soul is the greatest value in all the world, would you go back to the United States and turn your entire business over to me and use the prophets to spread the gospel around the world? I said, Lord, you already have 51%. Isn't that enough? And then he spoke to me once more. Stanley, on the cross, I paid it all for you. Now you're my disciple. And I want you to do what I ask you to do. I want you to go back and turn your business over to me 100% and use the prophets to spread the gospel around the world. You'll never know the struggle that went through my breast that night as I was struggling, you know. I said, all right, Lord, you can have it. Some people will look at me and say, Stanley, you know, what you do doesn't make sense. You say you do it according to the Bible. Well, I said, it succeeded. I said, the business is growing. And I said, that's the way it is. And I said, I'm a Christian, and I want to be obedient to the Lord. And He has shown me that this is the way to do it. So that's the way I'm going to do it. It's awful hard to give up control of a company because you gave it birth. It's almost like a child. It's hard to give up a child, hard to give up a company because you put your whole life into it. But obedience comes first. That's what I was challenged with, obedience. I promised God I'd obey Him. But then the business belonged to me, It was my child. And to give up something that, you struggled, you prayed about, all the decisions, you went through all the problems of developing a business. It's just ingrained into you. But obedience comes first. People ask me about giving away my business. And I never thought I did anything important when I did that. I just wanted to please the Lord.